In the name of Allah, the Merciful, the Beneficent. Now today's main headlines. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi, Islam has only one reality. Other denominations are false. Senior cleric condemns expulsion of Hazaras from Pakistan. Following recent events in Middle East, UN chief voices concerns over growing Islamophobia worldwide. Pakistan's PM urges Taliban administration to cut alleged support for terrorist militants. Assalamu alaikum dear viewers, this is Ayub Nouinou and you are watching Shia Waves live from London, only on Imam Hussein TV 3. The daily scholarly meeting of Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Hussein al-Shirazi was held on Wednesday the 23rd of Rabi' al-Thani. In this session, like the previous meetings, the Marja answered the questions of the attendees about various jurisprudence issues. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi cited verse 19 of Surah Al-Imran, "Indeed, the favored religion before God is Islam." Let's watch the statements of Grand Ayatollah Shirazi.
حلال محمد حلال إلى يوم القيامة صلى الله عليه وآله وحرامه حرام إلى يوم القيامة. هیچ چیز از احکام اسلام از زمان پیغمبر صلی الله علیه و آله تا روز قیامت تغییر پیدا نمی‌کنه مگه موضوع حکم عوض بشه. بچه بالغ نبوده، تکلیف نشه، حالا بالغ شده، موضوع عوض شده. یا این شی نجس یا متنجس بوده، استحاله شده، موضوع عوض شده. تا موضوع عوض نشه هیچ حکمی به خاطر شرایط دیروز و امروز و اینا عوض نمیشه الی یوم القیامه و این شک و شبهه‌ای درش نیست.
Chairman of Majlis Wahdat Muslimin Pakistan, Allama Raja Nasir Abbas Jafari, has warned in his condemnation statement on social media platform X that the attempt to expel the Pakistani Hazara community from the country under the guise of evacuation of Afghan refugees will create a new crisis in the country. He said that the Hazara community has been living in the country for many generations, adding that putting our own citizens on the list of refugees will fuel national, linguistic and religious prejudice. There are up to 1 million Hazara Shia living in Pakistan, of which 0.7 million live in Balochistan, according to a 2022 report by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade report. The Hazara community has been historically harassed by governments and radical movements. The Hazara Shia have been targeted over many years by Sunni extremists. According to a 2019 report by Pakistan's National Commission for Human Rights, an independent watchdog, at least 509 Hazara who have been documented have been murdered for their faith since 2013. In the wake of the recent events in the Middle East, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres expressed concerns of the growing Islamophobia in the world. Guterres tweeted on Tuesday that "I am deeply concerned about the growing intolerance of Islamophobia and that the scenes of suffering in the Middle East are heartbreaking." He pointed to the need to stop hate speech and provocative actions, emphasizing the need to preserve common humanity. Now let's take a look at today's main headlines. Grand Ayatollah Shirazi, Islam has only one reality. Other denominations are false. Senior cleric condemns expulsion of Hazaras from Pakistan. Following recent events in Middle East, UN chief voices concerns over growing Islamophobia worldwide. Also tonight, Terrorist attacks on Hazara Shia community in Afghanistan take new victims. Pakistan's caretaker Prime Minister Anwar-ul-Haq Kakar demanded Wednesday that the Taliban government extradite fugitive militants who are sheltering in Afghanistan and plotting terrorist attacks against his country. Kakar told the nationally televised news conference that his country has experienced a 60% increase in terrorist incidents and a 500% rise in suicide bombings since the Taliban returned to power in Kabul 2 years ago, killing nearly 2,300 Pakistanis. He asserted the bloodshed was being carried out by the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan or TTP terrorists from their bases in Afghanistan. Taliban officials rejected Kakar's allegations, saying their government is not responsible for maintaining peace in Pakistan, nor is it behind the insecurity in the neighbouring country. And now we continue some short news. The Hafizatul Quran School, an education institution affiliated with the Karbala Seminary for Women, held a meeting on the significant roles of reason in evaluating laws. A number of virtuous women and students of the Honourable Seminar attended the symposium due to the importance of the session's scientific topic. The school's administration told Shia Waves agency the information presented during the symposium was from the book The Mind Sees These Laws by late Imam Ayatollah Sayyid Imam Hussein Shirazi. May Allah bless his soul. It is worth mentioning that the Karbala Seminary for Women is one of the active and unique scientific institutions in the holy city of Karbala and is affiliated with Grand Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq al-Hussein Shirazi. New Delhi plans for the first time to make rain to try improve air quality in the city, which is the world's most polluted capital and has been gripped by smog for a week, to impose restrictions on vehicle use. Air quality deteriorates every year ahead of winter when cold air traps pollutants from sources, including vehicles, industries, construction dust and agricultural waste burning. German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier on Wednesday called on citizens to take a stronger stance against anti-Semitism and anti-Muslim racism amid the surge in hate crimes in recent weeks. In his public address, he warned against social polarization in Germany amid escalation of Israel-Palestine conflict. Germany's Muslim community is facing growing attacks since the start of the war against the Gaza Strip, a Berlin-based non-governmental human rights organization said on Wednesday. Aga Khan Museum in Toronto has put on show an array of Muslim art that dates from the 9th to 19th centuries. Along with Iranian objects, it showcases the artistic achievements and lasting legacies of Muslim civilizations created from Spain in the west to China in the east. Titled Inside Outside, the exhibit showcases nearly 200 objects such as manuscripts, paintings, ceramics, glass and textiles, intended to provide an overview of the artistic, intellectual and scientific contributions of Muslim civilizations to world history and heritage. World Science Day for Peace and Development is celebrated on November the 10th each year to highlight the importance of science in promoting peace and sustainable development around the world. This day was established by UNESCO in 2001 to emphasize the critical role that science plays in addressing global challenges and building a more peaceful and prosperous society. The theme for this year's World Science Day was Peace and Development is Building Trust in Science, which underscores the need for collaboration between scientists, policymakers, and the public to harness the power of science for the benefit of all people. On World Science Day for Peace and Development, events and activities are organized around the world to promote the importance of science in achieving peace and sustainable development. The ISIS group has claimed responsibility for a deadly bus attack targeting the Shia Hazara community in Afghanistan's capital, Kabul. The attack is the second in weeks against Afghanistan's historically oppressed Shia Hazara community. More details in the following report.
Afghanistan's Hazaras and the other Shia Muslim communities have faced decades of abuse and state-sponsored discrimination, including by the ruling Taliban. The oppression includes arbitrary arrests, discriminatory taxation, displacement from their traditional territory, and summary executions, according to the United Nations officials. The recent blast in the Dasht-e-Barchi district, a Hazara stronghold, killed 7 people and wounded 20, police said on Tuesday. The attack was the second targeting the oppressed community in recent weeks. ISIL took credit for the attack, saying via its Amaq news outlet that it had detonated an explosive device on a bus carrying Shia Muslims, according to the site intelligence group. The group claimed a deadly explosion in a sports club in the same neighborhood that killed 4 people and critically wounded 7 in late October, according to Taliban authorities. In other incident, a suicide bomber blew himself up among worshippers attending Friday prayers at Imam Zaman Mosque in the city of Pole Khomri in northern Afghanistan, martyring about 40 Shiites and injuring 60 others. In the late 19th century, Pashtun ruler Abdurrahman Khan sought to bring the Hazara people in their homeland of Hazarajat under his rule. He waged a brutal war against the community, which resulted in bloody massacres, looting and pillaging of homes, enslavement, and the transfer of Hazara land to Pashtun tribes. It is estimated that Hazarajat lost some 60% of its population to ethnic cleansing, which has led some scholars to term the carnage a genocide. Over the following decades, Hazaras continued to face repression, discrimination, and socio-economic marginalization. Many were forced to conceal their identities to obtain state identification. Until the 1970s, a large percentage of the Hazara population could not access higher education, enroll in the army, or secure higher-level government jobs. In 1998, as the Taliban was attempting to establish full control over Afghanistan, it laid siege on Hazarajat, blocking supply routes and starving the civilian population. In August of the same year, Taliban fighters captured Mazar-e-Sharif, a city in northern Afghanistan, going on a rampage targeting Tajiks, Uzbeks, and particularly Hazaras. Human Rights Watch estimated that at least 2,000 people of different ethnic communities, including Hazaras, were killed, and according to estimates by Hazara groups, the death toll may be as high as 15,000. On the 26th of June 2022, the Taliban detained and unlawfully executed 4 men during a night raid operation in search of a former security official. The body of at least one of those executed showed signs of torture. A woman and a 12-year-old girl were also killed during the raid. Afghanistan is estimated to have a population of some 6 million Shia Muslims, the overwhelming majority of whom are Hazara. This is Ali Al-Hadi reporting for Shia Waves.
To discuss this further, we have with us live Muhammad Gulzari from London, who is an expert on Shia Hazara genocide. Assalamu alaikum, brother. So, to begin with, why has the Hazara Shia community faced historical oppression in the region? What are the motives driving the oppression at the moment?
Wa alaikum assalam. Thank you very much. Actually, the Hazara are very, very distinct by their ethnicity and by religion, because they are Shia by faith. And historically, it goes from the early end of the 19th century. The persecution started from that area. It's called the era of Amir Abdurrahman Khan. And that the reason of the persecution was not only politically, but it was religion, and also geopolitical factor was also involved. I start by the geopolitical first, because in that time it was the peak of the great game, which was a tussle between the Russian Empire and the British Empire, and the Afghanistan as a buffer state was in between the 2 empires, and geographically some Hazara was living on the northern part of the Afghanistan, very close to the Russian border. That was called the Hazaras of the Kilanau. And the rest of the Hazaras, in the majority, they were in the central part of the Hazarajat. And because of the this is all boundary relation issue was between the British Empire and the Russian Empire. The Hazaras being ethnically they were Turkic Mongolite, So there was policy of the British Empire to remove them from there because it was chance, because their Hazara could be, join the Russian thing. This is one of the part of the business. And the second was the reason, because when the Amir Abdurrahman Khan became on throne in 1880, he had some previous difficulties with the Hazara himself, and he was actually trying to to bring all the Hazaras, because Hazarajat, it's called also Hazaristan, was very independent state in those days, and he wanted to subjugate all the Hazaras under his rule. But Hazaras never came under his rule because the whole Afghanistan was actually divided among the tribal system, and the war was actually gradually started. And when by the May and June and July of 1892, when the Hazaras had a upper hand, and the forces of Amir Abdurrahman Khan was defeated, then Amir Abdurrahman Khan had no choice to use the religion card, and he actually issued fitwa, we call it, the proclamation or the notification against the Shia Hazaras, and it declared that the Hazaras are infidels and they are kafirs, and therefore the whole Afghanistan were all. He actually organized about 100,000 of the regular and irregular army from all Afghanistan on the basis of their fitwas, and the fitwas were basically issued in 4 different fitwas, but the same. The context was the same exactly on the basis of the kufriyat, or you can say infidelity of the Hazaras, and that really mobilized all the Afghan tribes, they were all Sunnis actually, and that's why they surrounded all the Hazaras, and the war was active war was continued for the 3 years continuously, and unfortunately that war has not been surfaced till today. And in the result of that war, about 2.4 million Hazara Shias were actually, they were massacred or imprisoned or enslaved, or they were forced migrated to the out of the boundaries of Afghanistan. Mainly they fled to Russia and Persia and Iran in those days, and British India. So that was the 60%, estimated 60% of the population has been vanished. And that fitwa is still intact. And because during the first rule of Taliban, the Mullah Niazi in Balkh Mosque, he himself, exactly referred to those fitwas of Amir Abdurrahman Khan and said this is the continuation of that business, which still is continued today, which you have now earlier reported. Exactly, that is sometime when being an expert in this Hazara persecution, and the evidence from the primary sources, it shows that persecution or the genocide is really is a long genocide and is a perpetual, and that is still continued, and that's why we Hazara says it as genocide, and the different and various sources it approves that the Amir Abdurrahman Khan's intention was to wipe out the Hazaras from the face of earth, and particularly from the Hazarajat by force to migrate them, or to put all of the Hazaras under the sword. This is has very clearly written in their fitwas, which is still available, and various primary sources is available in the different archives and the libraries. So
with that said, Mr. Gulzar, with that said, what effective measures can be taken by international bodies, including the UN, to help protect the Hazara community?
Actually, since the late 19th century till today, which is currently, which things are happening. Actually, 3 things are very important from my point of view, that it should be the data and the monitoring of the international community should monitor all these genocide or ethnocide, you can say. And the other thing is very important, that the diplomatic measures should be taken by the foreign countries, those are in power, particularly the Hazaras in diaspora, and particularly in the United States and Europe, they are very active actually. And the diplomatic measures should be taken by the different countries to prevent the genocide or ethnocide of the Hazaras. And the third and very important thing is nowadays, because you just earlier mentioned that lots of Hazaras from Pakistan, they are now by force they are moving. I mean, they are expelling from Pakistan to back to the Afghanistan, because in Afghanistan for the Hazaras left nothing, because under this the current regime of Taliban, the Hazaras are already in immense pressure of the persecution, and the humanitarian aid is very very important nowadays. So at least they should provide humanitarian aid to the Hazaras, not only inside Afghanistan but outside Afghanistan, where they are living in exile. And the third and very important thing is that accountability. Since the last 131 years, the Hazara is facing continuous persecution and genocide. The international international law or the International Court of Justice, they should recognize the Hazaras as the long genocide persecuted nation on the earth, and it should be it should be recognized by not only by the international community but also by the different European countries as well, because the majority of the Hazaras in diaspora lives in Europe and America, and they knows that, and according to the international law, the Hazaras are really persecuted, and they should be declared as a community who has been genocide for the last.
Thank you very much.
Years.
Thank you very much for your time, Mr. Gulzari. We look forward to hearing from you again very soon, inshallah. That was Ms. Muhammad Gulzari speaking to us live from London. And now let's take a look back at tonight's main headlines. Ayatollah Shirazi. Islam has only one reality. Other denominations are false. Senior cleric condemns expulsion of Hazaras from Pakistan. Following recent events in the Middle East, UN chief voices concerns over growing Islamophobia worldwide. Pakistan's PM urges Taliban administration to cut alleged support for terrorist militants. Terrorist attacks on Hazara Shia community in Afghanistan take new victims. You can view the latest news on our website, or you can send news of your city or country to be published on our news agency. Please contact us on the number at the bottom of your screens. That's all from us today. We pray to Allah the Almighty to hasten the reappearance of the Master of our time. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
بسم الله الرحمن